The most important thing if you want to build muscle and make that skinny to muscular transformation is making sure that your diet is on point. It may seem a little bit overwhelming and it may seem a little bit complicated at times, and I was in a similar position. In this video, what I want to do is just clear up 5 of the biggest nutrition mistakes for muscle building that I made along my journey that you can avoid, so you can obviously make progress a lot quicker than I did in the initial stages and finally make the progress that you want to. So the first mistake I made with my nutrition, which is a grave mistake, is having no plan or no protocol and just going with the flow and doing what I feel like I should do in the moment. It was like me trying to drive to the other side of the country that I live in without having a route or without having a sat nav. And just before we continue on, I would absolutely love to invite you to our free online community, where I host a community of over 300 men trying to make that skinny to muscular transformation and put on the muscle they want to. The intention of this community is to help you avoid all the noise, cut out all of the mistakes, and ultimately make muscle building and the path towards achieving your goals in the gym as simple and as clear as possible. So if you want to go and check that out, then I'm going to leave it in the top link in the description. But here is just a preview of the wins and the results people are seeing. Back to the video. I didn't necessarily know my calorie surplus goal. I didn't necessarily have a meal preparation routine. I didn't necessarily have a routine or a way I was going to organize myself every day, and I didn't necessarily have a schedule. I didn't really have anything to fall back on, and something that I really put importance on with my clients is having a backup. So for example, you know, if things are busy or you have to change your routine, you have a really simple backup to obviously stay on track. So for example, a really simple backup meal is something like a protein shake or something like a really simple wrap meal or whatever it is. I didn't have any of that in place, and it led me to fail, especially if you're watching this right now and you have other things going on in your life. I imagine the gym isn't the only thing going on in your life, whether you're studying, whether you're working, or whether you're taking care of a family, if you've got kids, or you're in a relationship. Things are going to get busy and you've got to maintain a social life, things of that nature. If you don't have a schedule, if you don't have a protocol, and if you don't know what you're doing in advance, you don't necessarily have that clear roadmap, then it's going to be very difficult for you. And if you don't have a plan or you don't have a protocol, then what that's going to do is increase decision fatigue. So what that basically means is you're going to be thinking about what to do more than actually taking action. And taking action, whether that's eating your meals or training or sleeping at a certain time or getting your recovery in, those things are what moves the needle for you. And if you're not taking action, then simply you're not going to see the results. The second nutrition mistake that held me back from building muscle and that you need to avoid is guesstimation. So guessing how many calories you ate in the day, guessing whether... So a fantastic example of guesstimation in action for so many people with nutrition is, okay, if they feel full, then they think they've eaten enough and they should stop. However, I could give you a portion of salad and I could give you a portion of meatballs, and both of them will fill you up, but there's a significant calorie difference. And you know, if you fill yourself up on lower calorie food, just because you're full doesn't mean you've eaten enough calories. You've just not been effective with the food that you've been eating. And in reality, you could be 1,000 calories off your calorie goal for all you know, and you're not doing enough. And that is the reason why a lot of people don't gain weight, because they don't know how many calories they're eating. Therefore, they don't know what they're doing is 100% effective. So you want to know what your calorie goal is, and you want to know for certain that what you're doing every day is going to help you get the results that you want to get. And this was a massive mistake I made back in the day. So you just need to make sure you know these things. You're going to have so much more clarity. You're not going to be stressing over whether things are working or not, and obviously you're not going to be upset if things don't progress. And something so important about making progress is collecting data, because it's all good saying, oh, I'm not making progress, but if you don't know what you're doing every day, then that is a good place to start, because it's through finding out what you're doing that you can identify the one thing that is not making you progress, and then you can change that, and then you'll start making progress. It's as simple as that. Because what happens a lot of the time is people don't know what they're doing, so they make changes to the wrong thing. And do not guesstimate. No, 100%. On to the third nutrition mistake that I made for building muscle was I thought the more calories I ate, the more muscle I would put on. However, this is as incorrect as you can get. If we look at it from a calorie intake and a calorie expenditure perspective, so calorie intake is how many calories are we eat in a day, and then the calorie expenditure is how many calories leave our body every single day. If you want to build muscle and ideally bulking, right, you want to intake slightly more calories than the amount that is expended, because what this is going to do is give your body enough energy to use for extracurricular activities such as fitness, physical activity, and in this situation, the gym and building muscle, right? So it's that little bit extra that you need. Now, if you try and eat as much as you possibly can, so you eat over 1,000 calories more than the amount that leaves your body, you're not necessarily going to be doing enough physical activity or burning enough calories every day to compensate for that. So although you're eating as much as you possibly can, you're just going to store fat. It's not going to be contributed towards muscle, because simply those calories are not going to be utilized and they're just going to be stored as fat. You know, based on whether you feel full, you've eaten enough, or guessing whether you've just done enough and not having 100% certainty. Make sure you keep things clean and lean, because you don't want to be putting on additional fat. The penultimate nutrition mistake that I want to talk about isn't necessarily about initially building muscle and bulking, but it's about when things actually started to click and I didn't necessarily do the right thing. I neglected what I like to call a diet deload. After bulking for a prolonged period of time, it is going to be very taxing on your digestive system, because you're eating more food than your body is actually meant to require. So it's going to take a toll. So your body every now and again is going to need a little rest, because what happened is my bulking diet and the surplus stopped becoming effective, and it got to a point of diminishing returns where I was, you know, making progress for so long, but I didn't necessarily make any adjustments, so I didn't put my foot on the brake for a little bit, and it got to this point of diminishing returns where what I was doing started to actually become unproductive, where my appetite sucked, my metabolism slowed down, and things didn't really start going to plan, and I didn't start feeling good at all. I felt like shit, honestly. This is more of a intermediate thing than a novice thing. However, it's something to acknowledge when you get down a line, and it's something that I do with my clients and I encourage them to do as well when they get to this stage. So what I basically mean by this is every 8, 9 or 10 weeks, from my experience and what I have found to be useful, is just take a little bit of a break from the bulking diet. So go easy on the calories for a little bit. You don't necessarily need to follow much of a plan, and what this is going to do is help you reset your metabolism, reset your appetite, and it's obviously going to reset your motivation as well. The final nutrition mistake that I made in the early stages that you need to avoid is I had a ridiculous over reliance on supplements, and you know, more specifically protein supplements. Now, I'm not saying that supplements are bad. Protein powder can be effective. However, you don't want to have that as your main source of protein or your main source of calories, because A, it's all factorized, it's all made in the lab, it's all got chemicals in it. Obviously, there are some that are worse than others. However, they're still chemically produced and artificially produced, and you want to be getting your protein and your nutrients from whole foods, because A, you're going to feel better. B, if you're having an over reliance on supplements such as protein powder, then you're going to completely mess up your digestive system, you're going to completely mess up your appetite, you're going to clog things, and you're going to mess up your hormones as well. You're not necessarily going to be feeling good. And it was when I made the shift from having multiple protein shakes a day to getting my food through whole foods such as eggs, chicken, rice, beef, then I started to feel great. My workouts got better, my energy was a lot better, therefore my metabolism increased. And if you're not sure what your metabolism is, it basically just refers to the efficiency of your body burning calories, whether you're at rest and whether you're at physical activity. And what that basically means is, once my metabolism increased, I was able to keep fat off easier, and I was able to bulk in a much leaner way, keep my abs, so it was all happy days. And you want to think of it like this: a supplement, by definition, is something that is made to complete or enhance something on top of something else. So essentially, it is like the icing on top of the cake. If you have 300 calories left in a day, then a protein shake would be effective. So they are the 5 nutrition mistakes that I made that you must avoid for building muscle and to just streamline the process. If you found this video useful or you've enjoyed it, make sure to drop a like. If you've got anything to add, leave them in the comments below. I'll be curious to hear them. Furthermore, if you want to go to the next level and you're finally committed to stop spinning your wheels, and you want personalized and tailored help from me, which is going to help you avoid these mistakes and even more mistakes I made in other aspects that could hold you back if you're not aware of them, I'm going to leave a link to my one-on-one coaching application in the top link in the description down below, where you could potentially get results like these, such as my clients here, and completely change things for yourself and finally make the progress you truly want to. I'm going to leave everything there. Have a good day. See you later. All the best, and bye bye.